Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday. I hope you enjoyed the season 2 premiere of Queen of the South. My name is Patrick Gomez. I am a senior writer at People Magazine, but you don't care about who I am. Let's introduce you to the star of Queen of the South, Alice Braga.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's so good. Yesterday, Wagner Moore is a really dear friend of mine. He's the actor in Narcos. He plays Pablo. And last night I saw him and he said to me, "You're doing that tomorrow? That's the best thing because you're talking to actors. That's the best part of it." Because he spent like just talking with the journalists. So thank you for being here. I mean, it's great to have you guys here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sure all eyes were forward and watching the amazing premiere, but you actually snuck in and got to see a little bit of it before we came out here, right?
Yes, I came a little bit just to sneak.
How is it to get to see people see what you spent so much time working on and see their reactions and hear what they're reacting to?
It gives butterflies because it's so funny. Like we wrapped on Sunday, then we came directly like to do interviews and premiere and all that, and now it releases on Thursday. So it's kind of like when you do it, you're so focused on doing it that you kind of don't think like when the people are seeing it. And last night we had a premiere, and today I wanted to sneak it, like to see you guys watching just because of that, because it gives like the butterflies of, oh my God, actually they're gonna watch it. It's coming out. And we shot that one such a long time ago that I was watching, was like, wow, my eyebrow is different. Oh my God, did I gain weight? Did I didn't gain weight? It's like such a long time ago.
Are you someone that enjoys watching something that you filmed, or are you somebody that prefers to do the work?
Run away from it. I watched once and I never watch it again, ever. No, I mean, like I like watching it. Maybe a couple of years later, like watch once and then I don't keep watching like all the time. I like watching it and then just leave it by. But the problem is that I always watch. I'm like, I should have done. You guys are actors, don't we do that? Like, why did I do that? Should I do that? No, I should have done that. Next time I won't do that, I will do that. We're always thinking. I think we think too much, right?
But you know what, that also makes you good at analyzing a script and putting things together is the thinking and considering what makes people tick. What was it about this character and this series, because this is your first television series that you're on as a regular, and even then you hadn't done much TV work. Why was this something that you wanted to do?
It's my first work on television. I always done films, and not even in Brazil, which is a very television driven country. It was the first time that I worked on TV. I read the book Queen of the South 10 years ago. A friend of mine gave me, and she said, "Look, there's an amazing character in this book. You should definitely read it. Maybe to play her one day, maybe just for the fun of it." And I loved it. At that point, Eva Mendes was going to do the part. I think they were going to do a film about it. And then it ended up not happening. Then years afterward, Kate del Castillo did the Spanish version. And then I was in Mississippi shooting a film, and then my phone rang and they said, they're doing this TV show called Queen of the South. And I'm like, wait a minute. Is that the book, Queen of the South? I said, yeah. And I was like, wow, that's crazy, because I read this book like years ago, and I love the character, and what I most love about it is who she is. Teresa is such a wonderful character to play, because she is a woman that never victimizes herself, no matter what circumstances her life has put her in, and is a character that is pragmatic, that is strong, but not the stereotype of being strong. She's just the hero of her own life. It's not a character that it's aiming to get somewhere. She's just surviving. She's just going through it, and that was one of the things that I think as an actor we all want to play, like a character that has a journey of it. And in the book it's beautiful, because her journey in the book, it's so special, like how she becomes this woman. So I think for me the main thing was how to humanize her, and how to not to be a good or a bad character, like a villain or not a villain, but like to humanize it, to ground this character more than anything. And I think that's why when they invited me, when they called me in for it, it was something that I thought, I want to do it. It was because of the journey of this character, who she is and where she starts to, and what's her journey to become who she becomes. And because we know where she goes to, like we know that she becomes this drug lord, this drug queen. That journey I was curious about, the process of how to create a character for that point A to point B, and how to go through each point without losing the core of it, without losing who she is and what is her ground. So I think that was something that for me was what drove me to be passionate about Teresa more than anything.
Nice. I have a few questions.
If I don't answer, stop me, okay? You guys are actors.
We need, like,
great. You
buzzers.
guys are not journalists.
I have a few questions from the audience that I'm going to be asking throughout this. And Lisandra, thank you so much for your question. Asked, what was the audition process like for the show? Did you have a bunch of round of callbacks? Was there a screen test? And how did you prepare for those?
I did audition. They called me in for a talk. I did a talk with the previous showrunners that were the ones that were writing the show first. Like for the first season to the second season, we changed showrunners, but they were the ones that I think they knew my work. I think they knew Robert Rodriguez. I did a film with Robert Rodriguez, and they invited me to a chat. Actually, they flew to where I was, and we had a talk on the character. I think my audition process was more, talking about Teresa, and because I think I'm so passionate about her, they kind of like thought, okay, I think she likes the character a lot. We should hire her because I'm really passionate about her, and that was it. So it wasn't like a classic process like when we go audition and all that. So I was very honored by it because for me it was kind of crazy. Like 10 years after, or 8 years at the time, after I read the book and I fell in love with the character, suddenly that character was coming in my direction.
And what does it mean for you? Obviously, it was special because you read the book, but what does it mean to you to be at a point in your career where somebody is just coming to you and just wants to have a conversation, that it's not 1,000 auditions and 19 screen tests? And
weird. I think it's too good to be true. That's weird. It's an interesting, because I think like the auditioning process for me is so hard, and it's great to share this because like there was some point that I was easygoing with it. And then I went to a dark time that I could not audition, but not even like doing bad auditions. It's like not going through the door. I would tell my people, like, we say my people, that's crazy, right? My people. I say my gang.
these are your people.
These are my people. Those are other people. I just can't, because it was like everything in my mind. I couldn't just get away from the idea of like, I have to do well. I need to please them. I need to get their attention. I need to get the part. I need to get the part. I need a job. I need a job. I need a job. And then I literally blank from it. So for a period, I couldn't audition. It was really hard for me. And then I started like going through and getting everything together again and trying hard and just focusing on what I most love, which is acting. Everything that is around is just noise, but what we love is doing it, is believing it, is creating it, it's grounding it, it's the process of it. And I think I tried like to grab, all the energy that I could in that. So when they came, I was like, this is weird. They don't want me to audition? That's weird. And it was amazing because I thought, well, that's kind of a coincidence. That is a character that I love. So that was the thing that for me was, okay, that's great. I didn't think much of a point on my career because I still audition. I still have to break those fears and those challenges that I put onto myself, on those judgments that we put on ourselves on going to audition. I'm still auditioning. I'm still auditioning for films. I'm still auditioning for other stuff. And I think auditioning is part of the process. I try to force myself to understand that it's not about if you're good or bad. It's about them seeing and finding the character. It's funny that now I'm producing a series in Brazil and we're in the casting process, and it's so weird to be on the other side because it's not about who is the best actress. It's who is the part. And I think sometimes we get too stuck into, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. And I still struggle. And I think it's interesting to get the chance to do a TV show and then suddenly find myself like I'm driving in LA and seeing, did you guys see the amount of billboards that they put out? It's insane. I just arrived in LA, I'm like, this is weird. And it's great. I mean, like you look at it and you're like, wow, that's great. And not even for the size of it and the sex of it, but just like, okay, that's great. Like keep on working. That's it. Like keep on working more than anything. Anyway, I'm talking.
No, it's all great. Let's go back to the beginning. Talk to me about growing up in Sao Paulo and and obviously you started acting at a very young age. How did that come into your life? As from birth, it was already in your family.
It was, yeah. My mom used to be an actress, and when I was born, she became an AD, and then now she's an editor. My aunt is Sonia Braga, and she's a phenomenal actress as well. And my whole family is kind of related to this world. I grew up very connected to my mom, and I started doing theater when I was a kid, like in school, just non-professional theater. Then I started visiting sets and being with my mom a lot. So I started developing like a desire to be on sets, even in front of the camera, behind the camera. And then I started like doing some commercials and still doing theater classes in school. And then I did City of God, and then I went to university for acting, and then it kind of like developed from there, like the passion and all that.
How do you feel like having a mother, not only who was an actress, but an AD and got into editing? What do you feel like having her influence has brought to you as an actress?
I think everything. It's funny because my mom, I think because she was an actress, she brought something to me that was so important of how much is important for us to believe in what we're doing more than anything. And I think that belief and doing it with soul and the commitment and the desire to immerse yourself into this world that you're telling is more important than anything. So I think she was a big figure for me. Like she still is someone that is a reference for me. That definitely changed everything. I think I wouldn't, had become an actress if I didn't grow up with her by my side, inspiring me in that sense.
This is an industry that you've luckily gotten a lot of yeses, but it's an industry where you get a lot of no's. At a young age in particular, how did you face those no's, and what made you push forward for the next yes?
I mean, as I was saying, it's funny to go back to saying that about auditioning, because I mean, I was lucky enough, and I think that's the biggest proof of how much the more we think, can I say fuck? Yeah. The more fucked we get. It sucks, but it is true. I mean, like I remember auditioning for I Am Legend, which is a gigantic film. And they didn't want me to audition because they were already kind of like going for that girl already and all that, and I was too short for the monsters. They were also auditioning for the monsters, and they said, oh, audition for the monsters, great. And then they said, no, audition for the other part. And I remember when I went to the audition, I wasn't thinking. And I passed the first phase, and then I went to read with Will, and it was a great audition because we had so much fun, because we weren't I wasn't thinking about anything else. I was just thinking about the moment. And it's interesting to remember after that audition, after getting that part, after doing a bunch of films, how I went into this hole of not auditioning, not being able to cross the door. Where the hell did my mind go that I could not say even hi? I would not go to, guys, I would not even go. It's not even like I arrived there and I did a bad audition, or I arrived there, I gave up. I wouldn't even go. I would just say, no, I'm not doing. I'm not doing. And trying to deal with that, I think it's still a struggle. And I think it's a very lonely process, right? Being an actor. It's really lonely. And that's why I think, for me, I've been feeling, I felt very lucky that I got to meet an actor that I admire a lot, which is Emery Cohen. And we did a film together called The Duel in Mississippi. It's actually when they called me to do Queen of the South. And through his work, I was like, he's an amazing actor. And we started talking and we became friends. We would drink together. And then he gave the number to his acting coach. That is it here. I love you, Victor. And for me, I think, I'm sorry that I'm crying because I just finished shooting. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to open my heart because it's so hard. It's so lonely what we do. That once you find partnership, it's the best thing that we can have. And I think finding process and the passion for what we do is the most beautiful thing. And I feel that I was so excited to come here today to say process, partnership, commitment to what we love is the most important thing to do. The passion for acting, the passion for the character, the passion for the process, for the desire to do that and not to please anyone, or not to try to be something, or not try to achieve something or if it is to achieve something, but have fun on achieving it. And it's funny because I remember as soon as I found a good partnership of a coach, of someone to work with, of a group of people to be together and fighting for the character and developing the character and finding the way through it, through the process, through creating the character, understanding the character, no matter what the circumstances around you are, commit to the character, be the advocate for the character, and the rest comes with it. I think that was for me a turning point that I'm still struggling to go through it. Even when I get an audition of like 15 pages, and the first thing is like, I'm not gonna do it. And then I have 10 people yelling at me, you are gonna do it! I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. But that thing, I think it's the most important thing, the commitment to, sometimes we get diverged by the madness that is this business that we chose to work on. And how important it is for you to find people, like I found my coach, that I found in actors friends, to keep inspiring ourselves for the pleasure of it and the fun of it and the commitment to telling the story and to developing a character and to be truthful more than anything.
And a lot
Sorry,
of that,
I talked a lot.
No, like I said, I'm sure everyone is really the passion that you just showed in getting so emotional and talking about it. That's, I'm sure, well, a lot of these people in this room feel the same way. So please don't apologize. A lot of that is getting out of your own head and kind of just letting yourself go. Most people go through really awkward teenage years and growing up, but you did that while being on camera. And what was that like? And do you feel like you had that more or less than other people because you were doing it in a public eye?
What do you mean, like a normal childhood?
Yeah.
Kind of. It was funny because I started working, like my first film I did when I was 18, and then I went to university, but then I stopped university to start traveling with the film, and then I got another film, and then I was like, okay, I should just jump into the doors that were opened instead of like giving up on them, and I said, I'm going to study along the way and get the chances. And then I started traveling a lot. And because of that, I missed all the parties, everything that was happening in my own hometown or my home country. But I was able to get to know a bunch of different people, which was great. So I kind of feel like my 20s, I spent more away from home and more away from my friends than anything else, because I was always meeting 100 new different people, because I was doing a project here, a project there, or not doing a project, but I was away from home. So I think kind of like it's what created maybe my character, who I am, the idea of I didn't party much. Now my mom's saying, now you're partying for everything you didn't party. Stop partying. I'm partying, by the way. If you guys want to have a beer tonight, I'll go. But yeah, I think kind of like, I love the work. So I think that's what inspired me.
And to find success with a film that was so universally enjoyed so early on in your career, and that introduced you, obviously you had good success in Brazil, but then all of a sudden you're everywhere. What was that like? Just one, working on the film, and then seeing how it went out to the world.
City of God, you mean, right? City of God was a film that we did, never imagining the size that you would get. Like, we did a film that was a story that everyone believed. It was based on a book. I feel very lucky that I read books that I like, and I ended up working on what they are. I did Blindness as well, which is José Saramago, beautiful book. And so City of God was a very important book, especially for the story of the favelas in Brazil, how powerful it was, that journey. It was a story of the country, of what was happening. But he did in a beautiful way that it was so cinematic that people all over the world loved it. But we did, like, never thinking that it would take that size. And it changed my life, because it's what really gave me the chance to meet different people, to be able to go in the room when I could, in the auditions when I did, to break those barriers. So it was a very special film. But the best thing, we didn't make it wanting to be that. We made, like, believing in that story, and then it just took it off by itself. I think the best thing in life happen like that, right? When you're really committed to doing it more than thinking on the result. Sometimes we grabbed ourselves like really thinking on the results, and then you don't enjoy the journey and the process.
Yeah. And you discussed it a little bit, but talk to us about the decision. Obviously, you go to school to learn and create a craft, but you were finding success regardless of that. Talk to me about the decision that you wanted to go to school, and then the decision to what made you want to go, and then what made you feel like it was okay to leave.
I really wanted to go because I wanted the experience of the classes. I wanted to work on the craft. It's something that I always talk to Victor, which is my mentor, my coach. We're always like, you need to work on your craft. You need to work on your craft. And that's something that at that time I was really eager to jump on it, to be with other actors that were in the same position that I was. It was a very hard decision to just give up on that. But at the other hand, I was having other doors that were open that if I let those down, if I didn't do that, I would regret forever, because it's hard to have a chance. And I think once you have a chance, if the door is open, why not going in? And for me, it was even harder because the doors that started opening, they were abroad. And I was 21 in Brazil, and I was like, what if it doesn't work and I'm missing this? But then if you choose something, you're always going to have a loss on the other side. So it was kind of like that thought of, what choices should I make? Like, what road should I take? And at that point, even though it was hard to stop the work, I had to make a commitment to myself to, okay, I'm not going to do this, but then I'm going to really commit to that. And along the way, I need to keep feeding myself. And I think as actors, we should always keep feeding ourselves. I mean, like, now that I finished 5 months of shooting Queen of the South, the main thing is go drink in Brazil. And then, first thing, caipirinhas at the beach. And then in a month, I'll come back and then get back to work, get back to voice classes, body classes, work classes, with my coach and whoever is along the way, or fighting for another job, forcing myself to go into the audition room more than anything, like trying to go back to the mindset. So I think we should always keep learning. So it was a hard decision to abandon the class, but at the same time, I kind of didn't have a choice. When they were just inviting me to audition for a film and inviting me to do the film, I had to. It was, I think everyone would, right? Please say yes. Thank you.
By the time that you were auditioning for American productions, you'd already been working in Brazil for well over a decade. What was it like?
No, I wasn't. I did two films in Brazil. Then my third film was co-production Mexico, Brazil. And then I only did American films. I did, I worked from 18 to 21 in Brazil, and then came to the U.S. So I spent more time in the U.S. than in Brazil.
Got you. But even then, with your commercial years and all of that, you'd spent so many years working in that industry. What was it like adjusting to the audition process, the shooting process in the U.S.?
It's interesting because here you guys have an industry, and in Brazil we don't. We have the soap opera culture. Brazil is more of a television and amazing films, but we don't have you cannot pay your bills just by doing small independent films, even though we really want. And the chance to be able to do a film is amazing. So the difference is here you guys have an industry that you can fight for, maybe getting a TV show, maybe working on a film. In Brazil, we were more focused on TV because as an actor, that's where the income comes from, and we need to pay the bills. And there are amazing things being done in the Brazilian television that I'm curious about doing it, because I think it's great to feed yourself with different things. I want to do a play next, and I have this TV show. I want to do a film. I'm going back to Brazil to do a small film. I think all of these feed us as an actor, not just focusing in one thing. I think it's good to kind of drink from different places. And I feel that the chance that I got in the US by having an industry, it changes, because I learned so much from the auditioning process, from the relationship of the crew and all that we have in Brazil, but we have in only one spot, which is the television.
Obviously, you found somebody that's providing you a lot of teachings in more of a teacher-student relationship. Talk to me about what you've learned from working with other actors and watching them. Who have you worked with that's maybe been most influential to you?
I think one of the things that I most love about acting is having fun with the other actor. I think like once you're in a scene and you forget about the world, and when they say cut is when you come back, I think that's the best feeling that you can ever have. And I remember, funny enough, I started talking about him because I was talking about you guys with him last night about coming here, is Wagner Moura. We did a film called Lower City, I don't know, I think like 10, 13 years ago. It was my second film. And it was a love triangle. It was me, him, and another actor, Lázaro Ramos, a Brazilian actor, wonderful actor. And I remember in that process with them, like being so committed to the love for these three characters, so committed to that triangle, so committed to the story, that we would lose ourselves on camera. We would just be so in it. And I remember one scene with Wagner that he would say to me, you need to abandon him to be with me. And I would say, I can't. Either I'm with both of you or I'm not doing this. And then he grabs me and he starts like punching me, like pushing me to the wall. And all I wanted to do was hug him. And I remember seeing in his eyes at that moment, and it was my second film, and I was just starting like really committing to, okay, this is what I want to do in life, because I've done theater, but I've never done professional theater. I did City of God, and that was my first film after City of God. I remember looking deep in his eyes and saying, wow, that's what I want to do. I want to believe it. I want to feel it, because when you really finish a scene and you're shaking it by how deep inside you were in that scene, I think it's adrenaline, like jumping out of a plane, like really committing to it and having a heartbeat of that character. So I think Wagner Moura for me is a big, big influence. And then I was lucky enough to work with different actors from so many different places throughout, the couple of years that came after that film. That is so great, because Wagner is a Brazilian actor. But then I came and I worked with Will Smith. That is a guy from Philadelphia that has a completely different background at a completely different school than him, but has the same passion for it, but executed in a different way. And for you to learn how to dance with that person, it's so nice. And I learned a lot from Will, from his commitment to it, for his passion for the craft, the crew, and all that. And then you just jump and you meet like someone from England, and then you work with that actor from England that did drama school, and there's a completely different dance than samba. Like, it's a completely different thing. I think that's the best part of it.
And, obviously you've worked on a lot of different types of projects. And the through line for you, it seemed to have been his passion for them. But obviously there's some roles that you closely identify with, and then there's other roles that you probably are completely different than the character that you're playing. What do you feel like what role has been the biggest stretch for you, and how did you end up finding that character?
This film that I did when I was 21 years old, she was a prostitute, but like very, very, from like low income, like really small neighborhood in Salvador, Bahia, which is a beautiful town in Brazil. And that was a character for me, was a beautiful journey to get to. But I remember the challenge of understanding the character, not judging the character, and understanding the needs and the pleasure through it, and the non-victimization to be that character, to not just be the stereotype of a prostitute. I think that was a very interesting challenge. And also I think Teresa Mendoza, because I had a challenge with this job that I signed, the book is my main passion, and I signed up to do that character. For many reasons, they ended up like adapting it to the American television, not following the book. And for me, my commitment was to Teresa from the book. That's my main passion. And to be the advocate of her, it's been my main desire. So I think bringing that alive and keeping connected to who she is, what's her spine, what's her truth, what is her ground, to play to whatever they recreate for her journey, it's an interesting challenge, and I think a hard one to stretch and to commit to. Like, how can I be truthful and maintain her intact with the changes that are made it around it? And I think that's a strong challenge to face.
And how has that been? Because being your first TV show, this is now a character that you're able to, it's not a 2.5 hour at most movie. You're able to grow and change with this character. How have you seen the character change and grow, and how have you changed the way you play her as all this has happened around her?
It's interesting because television has this power of you keep... Gael Garcia Bernal, which is another good friend of mine, he said to me, he was talking about the Amazon show, and he said, it's great because you end up like with the character longer. Like, you develop the character throughout a longer period than in a film. That way you go in, you work for like 3 months, and then you're done. And then the character's there, and then you move on to the next one. And with the TV show, you develop it, you do it for a certain amount of episodes, then you go on hiatus, and then you're like, hi, again. Putting on the clothes and meeting this person again. So it's a funny feeling. Like, we're all kind of schizophrenics because we have to create stuff. And I think it's an interesting challenge because I've never done that in my life. And coming for season 2, I remember like putting back on the clothes that literally was like a minute after we pick up season 2, a minute after season 1, finished season 1. And I remember like putting that clothes back again and kind of like, okay, let's do this. It's a character that it's alive. The heartbeat is not, it didn't stop. So you still need to adapt yourself through everything around you, meaning new directors, new writers, a new showrunner, a new crew, everything, new actors on the job. So I think grounding yourself more than anything is important. I think it's a process of preparing yourself for it. It's very important. That's why I keep mentioning like my work with Victor, because it's really important, I think, to commit to your decisions and make the character one, because everything around you is going to be switching. Everything around you, everything. Every week is going to be a new writer. Every week is going to be a new director. Every week maybe there's a new guest star, but you are there. And if you don't commit to it and ground the work and do script analysis, question yourself about choices and make decisions throughout the process, it can become a mess, because it's a hard work. You need to really maintain that. And I think a TV show gives you that chance to do this hard work, but amazing at the same time, because it's all we want is to be developing the work and to be developing the passion for a character, but throughout a long period. So it's funny because we finished season 2. Is there season 3? It's not, but the character is still there. It's alive. I mean, now I left her to drink caipirinha, but she's there. So yeah, I think like it's interesting. It's different. And that's why I want, funny enough, to go do a play now, because it's the opposite of it. Just to feed myself through it and through a different thing. And after that play, bring it back to her to even create new things with it.
I love it. I
talk a lot.
No, it's
Sorry.
great. Makes my job easy. I appreciate it. I believe I'm going to pronounce this correctly. Edie Lowe. Thank you. Oh, Eddie. Sorry. Eddie. We talked about, how you related to the character to help your performance, but he also wanted to know, do you consider this project as an empowerment to women? And what do you feel like your role is as an actress of kind of putting this type of character out there?
I don't know if it's empowering for women. I think like we never seen much women playing like a drug lord, a drug queen. It's funny because I did this talk again. He's a good friend of mine. Sorry, Wagner Moura. Wagner, I love you. And we were talking on South by Southwest about it, like how much it's funny that normally we see men playing that, and he was saying about the stereotype of playing, a drug lord. And I'm like, I don't feel the stereotype. I've never done it because it's a woman. We never have this type of characters. Never had the chance to play such a character as a drug lord. We never see a woman doing it. So I think that idea of giving a chance for a woman to play such a strong character is great. I don't think, like, I don't know if it's the empowerment of women. It's like
putting the drug aside of, you know, just the woman that she is, like fears, like not fear, no fear.
definitely in that way, yes, definitely. I think like not being fearless, being pragmatic, being a non-victim of her own life. Definitely not being what's so called that nowadays we should never say the girly thing, because being girly is awesome. Let's be girly. Men should be girly as well, because it's awesome to be a girl. So it's I think it's both ways, and yeah, definitely. I think in that sense, it is why my passion for the book, because I think it is a strong woman, and having the chance to play a strong woman is good.
Latino world, you know, like La Reina del Sur is very like empowering from many women. You know, like Jane Rivera, kind of, you know, like it's like that. Something now in the American world, like I think you are like representing that somehow. Something. I just wanted to hear it from you, like how you see it, like, you know.
Thank you for seeing me that way.
No, it's beautiful, and that actually ties right into another question. Gabriel Sosa asked, you know, how do you feel the industry has changed in regards to casting international actors? So not only as a woman, but you're also a Brazilian woman. How do you feel like the industry has changed since you've been there, and what you're seeing in the roles that you're being offered and the projects that are available to people of color?
I think it's been changing a lot. I was lucky enough to get to the U.S. like I think 10 or 12 years ago, and I could already feel the change. Like Sonia is my aunt, and she came here, I don't know how many years ago. I think like 30 years ago maybe. And at that point, it was so much harder. And she's one of the pioneers to it. It's great to think about it, because she's one of the pioneers in it, and it's beautiful. And when I got here, it was already different. Nowadays is even more. And I think it is changing, but we need to make a bigger change than that. We need to open not only for the actors, but to have more chances for Latin actors, for international actors. We have to have more Latin people in the writer's room, in the executive room, in the directing room, and not only Latins, but women. I think that's the only way that we're gonna open doors for us, because we want to see themselves there. And we need to not only see themselves there, but we need to write themselves there. So I think it's a whole thing that it's changing, but we need to keep on fighting for that, like really demanding it, really wanting to open those doors. But definitely, I think I remember like I think it was 8 years ago I did a film that on the script she was blonde and British. I'm the exact opposite of that. Like I'm Latina and brunette. But they cast me because they ended up like accepting me to do the audition. And the director liked me, it kicked off, and we did the film. And that showed like that they were open for it. And I think the industry is changing, but we need to keep united and push it for the change to keep on moving, because it's not only on the acting side, but it is behind the cameras as well, with directors, writers, producers, everything.
Well, to close out, I'd love to hear, obviously we got a taste of season 2 here, but talk to us a little bit about what we can expect to see for the rest of this, and how your character is going to continue to grow.
Well, Teresa is like in the same struggle to survive. I think it's a character, it's a very strong woman in that sense of the journey of it, to be alive, to be strong, to face all the surroundings that are around her. It's a season that talks a lot about this partnership between her and Camila, and how Teresa can survive through all this madness that she put herself into, which is this cartel world. So there's a lot of drama and some ramifications on Teresa's choices. So it's an interesting journey for her.
Well, I hope it will air tomorrow night, so please help tune in, get those numbers up there, and tell your friends to watch as well, but check out the rest of the season. And thank you so much for being here with us. And
Thank you,
all of
guys.
you for coming out here today. Thank you.